You arrive at the airport thinking you have plenty of time. Boarding pass ready, passport in hand, security line moving at a steady pace. Everything looks normal. But in airports, normal is not always predictable. Because somewhere between stepping into the line and reaching your gate, a delay can happen that has nothing to do with your ticket, your airline, or your destination. It can come down to something far simpler: what you are wearing. And in 2026 airport screening systems, clothing is not judged for style. It is processed for clarity, structure, and materials. When something interrupts that process even slightly, the result is not always dramatic, but it is always time. And time is the one thing travelers cannot recover once it is lost. The moment security really begins. Most travelers think security starts at the scanner. In reality, it starts earlier. The moment you enter the line, your belongings and clothing are already part of a structured screening environment. Body scanners, metal detectors, and baggage imaging systems are designed to move people through efficiently, but they are also designed to flag anything that does not produce a clear, readable image. That includes objects, and sometimes clothing features. Not because they are dangerous, but because they are unclear. And unclear means slower processing. Why a simple belt can slow everything down. One of the most common examples is the belt. A standard belt with minimal hardware usually passes without issue. But large metal buckles, thick decorative plates, or layered metal designs can create overlapping signals on scanners. When that happens, the system does not assume anything serious. It simply asks for clarification. That clarification usually means removing the item, scanning it again, and sometimes a brief additional check. It only adds a few minutes. But airport security is built on continuous flow. When you step out of that flow, even briefly, you do not always re-enter it at the same point. Shoes and why they matter more than people expect. Footwear is another major factor in travel timing. In many airports, shoes must be removed before passing through screening. That means footwear is not just about comfort, it is about speed of removal and replacement. High boots, tight laces, or shoes with multiple straps take longer to remove. That creates a small delay at the exact point where lines are moving continuously. Slip-on shoes, low-profile sneakers, or simple lace systems reduce that delay significantly. This is not about policy differences between airports. It is about efficiency inside a repetitive process. The impact of outer layers. Jackets, coats, and hoodies are always part of screening. They are removed before scanning and placed through imaging systems. But the structure of those garments still matters. Thick padding, dense insulation, and multiple fasteners can create complex shapes on scanners. When a shape is complex, the system may require a closer look. That closer look means the item is separated and inspected individually. Simple outer layers reduce that possibility, not by eliminating inspection, but by reducing ambiguity in the image. When clothing becomes too complex to read quickly. Layering is very common in travel, especially in climates where temperatures change throughout the day, but multiple layers create bulk, and bulk changes how the body appears in scanning systems. A single defined outline is easier to process. Multiple overlapping layers can blur that outline. When the outline is unclear, systems slow down, not because something is wrong, but because the system prioritizes certainty before allowing movement to continue. Metal detail up over time. Many clothing items include small metal features. Zippers, snaps, buttons, and reinforced seams are standard in modern apparel. Individually, they are not an issue, but when multiple items with metal components are combined in one outfit, the scanning image becomes more complex. That complexity increases the chance of additional review. This is why travelers often experience delays that feel random. It is not one item. It is the combination of several small ones. Accessories that require separate screening. Anything attached externally to clothing or bags is usually handled separately. Carabiners, clip-on pouches, and travel accessories often need to be removed and scanned on their own. This step is not unusual, but it adds separation between you and the main flow of passengers. And separation is where delays begin to form, even short ones. Materials that create unclear imaging. Most everyday fabrics pass through security systems without issue. Cotton, denim, polyester, and blended materials are standard and predictable. but certain textures can create more complex imaging results. Heavily reflective fabrics, dense embroidery, or metallic threading may appear unclear under scanning systems. When that happens, additional inspection is the standard response, not because the material is restricted, but because the image is not clean enough to process quickly. Bulky outerwear and handling time. In colder regions, heavy coats are unavoidable, but they are also one of the most time-consuming items at security checkpoints. They must be removed, scanned, and sometimes manually checked depending on structure and density. The more complex the garment, the more handling steps are required, and each step takes time away from the passenger flow. What happens when you get pulled aside? If a scanner requires additional inspection, you may be directed to a secondary screening area. This is a routine part of airport security. Items are rescanned, sometimes they are opened or checked more closely. The process is standard and procedural, but while it happens, the main security line continues moving forward. That is the key difference. It is not about the inspection itself, it is about what you miss while it happens. The comfort side of travel clothing. Once past security, the focus shifts from screening to endurance. Flights involve long periods of sitting, changing cabin pressure, and limited movement. Clothing that restricts circulation or feels rigid can become uncomfortable over time. Flexible fabrics allow easier movement during long flights. Breathable materials help regulate temperature in environments that can shift from warm to cold without warning. Why experienced travelers simplify everything. Frequent travelers often repeat the same approach for one reason: predictability. Simple outfits reduce screening variables. Less metal means fewer scanner questions. Fewer layers mean faster processing. Easy footwear means less delay at removal points. The goal is not minimalism for appearance. It is reduction of friction inside a system designed for speed. The real reason people miss flights. Most missed flights are not caused by one major failure. They are caused by small delays stacking together. A brief secondary screening, a slow shoe removal, a bag needing rescanning, a jacket inspection. Each one alone is minor. Together, they can shift a traveler from on time to running late without realizing it is happening. Final moment. By the time you reach the other side of security, everything feels rushed. You check the departure board, you check your gate, and you start moving faster than before. But airports do not slow down for delays that already happened. They only move forward, which is why the most efficient travel experience often starts before security itself. Not with documents, not with tickets, but with what you choose to wear. Because in airport systems, clothing is not about appearance. It is about how smoothly you move through every checkpoint between the entrance and your gate.